So in 2017, it was December, maybe 16th. No, it was December 22nd, 2017. I had been worried about my dad. He wouldn't let me come into his house, and he was not eating very much. So I started cooking for him and making him meals and dropping him off on his door. And it wasn't unusual that he wouldn't let me into his house. My dad had undiagnosed self-medicated bipolar disorder, and he was really, really challenging anyway. And so on this particular morning, I had made him meatballs, homemade gravy, and white rice the night before. I'd bought him some orange juice with no pulp in it, just the way he likes it. And I had hung it on the front doorknob of his house. And I called him and left him a message. Hey, Dad, I left you food. And he kept saying, thanks for the food. It's so good. And appreciate you cooking for me. And, bullshitting me basically is what I found out later was happening. And so he didn't answer the phone when I called. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. But I let it go, and I went about my way on my errands. And I still hadn't heard from him, and I was about to drive past the house again. So I thought, well, I'll just call him one more time. And I called him one more time, and it went to the answering machine again. And I just thought, that's just weird. So I called him a third time, and he picked up the phone, and he said, you are the strangest daughter. Why are you putting turkey in my sleeves? And I just thought, oh, okay. So I got off at the nearest exit. I doubled back. I went straight to the house. I was like, okay, Dad is not okay. And, I knew his health wasn't good. This man ate absolutely nothing but meat and potatoes, literally only meat and potatoes, white rice. But if it wasn't a starch or it didn't come from a cow, he wasn't eating it. And he smoked 2 packs a day since he was, I think he told me 14 years old, maybe a little younger than that. And he was 72 at this point. So I knew he had emphysema, COPD, and I knew that he was probably riddled with cancer, And so it wasn't a shock that his health wasn't doing well. And 3 weeks before, he'd been on his roof trying to clear a drain. So, I wasn't like immediately panicked that he was going to die tomorrow, but then he did. So I get to his house, and he's just skin and bones. And I hadn't seen him in about a week and a half. He'd started keeping me at bay. And I sat down next to him on his little fold-out bed in his little tiny house. And I said, hey, Dad, how you doing? And he started looking at his pajama sleeves, and he says, I just don't understand why you're putting turkey in there. And I said, Dad, there's no turkey in your sleeves, but can I check the other one? And we kind of did this little thing, and I got him some orange juice, and he drank some orange juice. And then he looked at me like I just arrived and said, what are you doing here? And so I did my mother's palliative care, and I took care of her until she passed. So I knew I kind of knew what I was seeing, but also it was my dad. So I didn't want to see what I was seeing. So I called my kids and my brother, and I said, hey, I don't think Poppy's doing very well. I need some help. I need everybody to if you can get here, get here. I called visiting nurses in Santa Barbara, and they immediately came out, did an assessment, and we got our hospice referral. Hospice was at my door. This began at 11 a.m., 10:40 or something. Hospice was in his house with a male hospice nurse for my dad by 2 p.m. And even though I had been through it once before, I don't think that I could have been prepared for the next 9 hours, no matter what happened. And within, 3 hours, maybe less, Dad had everything he needed. I had all the information. Dad had any medication. And we walked outside, and I walked the nurse out to the car, and I said, I've kind of been down this road before, so I know this isn't going to end well, but how much time do you think he has? And he said hours. And I just was like, holy shit. How did he go from like 3 weeks ago? He's standing on his roof, clearing a drain and giving me grief about trying to deadhead his roses. And, he's going to be dead today. And it was so fast. And the way that Hospice of Santa Barbara showed up to support us in that micro moment, I will never forget that. It was instant, and it was unwavering, and they helped my dad be comfortable for those last few hours of his life, and they were there for my family. And there is at no point in my life ever will I not show up for hospice. They are absolutely the best of us, these people. And I know it's foolhardy to wish that we don't need hospice, but we absolutely do, because we are going to get sick, and we are going to die, and we are going to grieve, and we need somebody to help us with that. And there is nobody. It's a special kind of care and love and counseling and support that you get at hospice that you don't get from anyone or anywhere else. So I am glad in this way that I get to share a story.